From every strand on the line of your reel, to the rods, to the anglers, to the lures on the end of your hook, let's talk about those big bass here on Co-Angler's Corner with your hosts, Rob Welch and John Stoudinger.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John.
Hi, y'all. RK Rob back with you. I had to take a night off. I cashed, my buddy had some checks I tried to cash, and it said nope. So I'm back in full swing. I overdid a little bit this weekend, but still had a good time. I had a good weekend.
All right. Tonight's guest is Mike Mueller, 2024 Northern Toyota Series Angler of the Year. He'll be on here in a second. He's having some difficulty getting on. So Rob, can you fill us in with what's going on with your regional?
It was kind of a crazy thing. It's been kind of crazy because of storms and all, and I understand. Well, Saturday, we launch out, and my boater, super nice guy, Tim, great guy, said we was going to launch at Granger County ramp, which is a little bit above the Cherokee TVA dam ramp. So I was like, okay, that's fine. So about time I get to Jefferson City, which is the city it's in, he says, now my buddy's at the TVA ramp. We'll just back in because there's a gravel. You can actually pull down the water and, launch from there. You don't have to use the ramp. So I said, okay, that's cool. So we launch out, no issues, and we're sitting around. And so by the time the ambulance pulls up and all the lights on, I was like, somebody got a medical emergency? What's going on? And then it backed into like the edge of the water. I'm like, what in the world's going on? And so we found out a little later, my boater's best friend, there was a boater that was driving his boat from Granger County to the TVA dam. He hit a log or something, knocked the motor off, knocked it onto his back, deck. And I don't know, it hurt him. I don't know how bad, but I know he was conscious when he got to the ramp. Anyway, so my best friend's friend pulled him his boat, called 911, say, hey, meet us at the ramp. And so he's conscious. When they loaded him in the boat, he was conscious. So I think he's going to be all right. He just banged up pretty good. So then the TWRA, which is a wildlife, game wardens and whatnot, and maybe the sheriff or somebody else pulled up two boats. Trucks had lights on, blue lights, and the boats had the blue lights. So they launched out, and they said, well, they got to investigate the wreck, and it's going to be a little while. And so 30 minutes later, they said, well, tournament's canceled. I was like, so my boater Tim said, hey, man, my mother-in-law is at home. I don't want to go home. Let's go fun fish. I'm like, I'm down. So we had fun fish about half a day. It was good. I caught a 4-pounder on a jig, so it was a good day. And and the regional, supposed to be at Clarksville. The whole area is still out of power. There's gas shortages. And this weekend after next. And I was like, I'm not going down there, all that. So got an email. There's been some rumors all day. It's going to be Watts Bar or Nickajack. Now it's going to be Watts Bar. So I probably will do that one.
All right, cool. Well, we're going to bring on the man of the year here, Mike Mueller, and talk to him about his 2024 season, what was the difference makers, and we'll get him on and find out. Good evening, sir.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Good seeing you guys again.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Good seeing you, man. Congrats on a great season, man. That's outstanding, man. We're happy for you.
No, I appreciate it. It was we've had some close calls over the years, and it was a tough grind. And you know what? If you win it by 1 point like I did or 100, doesn't matter.
That's right.
That's right.
Can't nobody take that away from you.
No.
Now, just before I came downstairs, my wife wanted me to let you know congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
And it's all because of her cookies.
You can tell her that I saved one, and I kept it in my boat all year, and I brought it with me to every tournament, and I ate it on the very last day. How's that sound?
There you go.
You couldn't have done that.
That's no, I ate them all like the first day that you gave them to me. But it's a good story.
Oh, yeah, it was. That was pretty good.
I was about to say, man, you have a heck of a restraint there. And a strong stomach.
No,
if you don't mind going through each tournament, just give us a quick recap. It doesn't have to be totally quick, but
No, absolutely. It was, like you said, it was a great year, and things really have to fall into place. And a lot of the stuff out of the back of the boat now, I think everybody knows is no secret. You got to deal with the forward facing and figure out how to catch fish behind guys. And the first stop was the Potomac River, which nobody was using forward facing, which was good. And really, the first tournament was a grind. It was pretty tough. It was. It was a little post spawn stuff, a lot of small male fish everywhere. Everybody catching a lot of 1.5 pounders, 2 pounders. So first morning we were boat number 3, which was really key for us. My partner shot across to a community hole, which is a marina that's right outside not right outside, but a straight shot across from where we put out. And we were the first boat in the marina. Caught one right away, about a 3 pounder on the rocks, and then he caught a couple. And then we had a couple of boats move in, and there was 3 or 4 boats in, and I saw one co-angler just casting way out in the middle. And I had never been in that spot before. And my boater said, yeah, there's some weeds out there and stuff. So I just chucked a chatterbait out there and caught a 4 pounder and a 3 pounder pretty quick, just fan casting out in the middle. So I'm thinking, man, I'm having a great day. We're about to kill it. So we moved. By the time there was like the 14th boat came in there, we moved and got to his main spot. And it was actually a spot not far from Brian Thrift. Not Brian Thrift. No, who's the guy that kills it down there all the time? Anyway, local guy always wins down there. So we were within literally a cast and a half of his boat, and he was whacking him. His co-angler was whacking him. I think they both had 16 to 18 pounds. My boater was whacking him. I think he caught about 25 keepers there. I didn't get a single bite. For the 6 hours we were there, it was ridiculous. I was getting spun out. I didn't know what was going on. Caught one short fish, and it's just one of those things that happens out of the back of the boat. So we went back in. I only had 3 fish, and he said, we've got a couple of minutes to go back to the marina. So we went back to the marina. Caught my 4th fish right away with about 5 minutes left, and came back in with 4 fish. Put me in decent shape. Wasn't great, but yeah, it was all right. It was a decent start, first day of the year. The second day, I drew out a guy, and we were just all over him. I mean, probably caught 50 fish all day. But again, they were all just cookie cutters. I think I had 11, 12 pounds or something like that. But it was enough to really jump me up. And it was a big spawning flat. Post-spawn, the fish were moving out to this area, and everybody had found it. There was probably 30 boats there. But the fish were just everywhere. But no size, which was fine. Out of the back of the boat, it's just about getting 5. It's not about, getting the huge ones. If you get lucky, that's great, but you got to get your 5. So I had 10, 12 pounds thinking, okay, that one fish that I couldn't catch the first day was going to mess me up, but I actually snuck in. I think I was in like 16th place, so I made the cut. So, all right, good way to start the year. Drew out a really great guy on day 3, Jeff Coble. Anybody that knows their Redman history, their MLF history, all that stuff. He was a 2-time back-to-back All-American champion, which has never happened before. Guy from North Carolina, really good. He said, we're going to swinging for the fences. So we're either going to whack him or we're going to get nothing. So we were frog fishing all day looking for the big bites. I had 3 blow-ups all day. I don't think either of us caught a fish. So I dropped down to like 23rd, but still not a bad way to start the year. Second event I was a little bit worried about because it's at Champlain. It wasn't the spawning tournament, so it was post-spawn, so a lot of guys scoping. First 2 days, the guys were scoping, but they were scoping shallow enough that if you know Champlain, you can still do stuff as a co-angler behind them. I did a lot of dragging, a lot of Carolina rig, some spy baiting. Anybody that knows me knows I still like to spy bait. And we caught some fish, but I think it was like 16 and a half pounds. So really good start again to the first day of the second tournament. And then the turning point for me was day 2 for the season, because I had some stuff happen there that I started feeling pretty good about my year. It was I drew a guy that was scoping. It was a tough day. I caught a bunch of fish the first day, but I only had like 5 or 6 bites the second day. And I drew out a guy that I had fished out there before with, so I knew what he was doing, and we were going to be drop shotting most of the day. And caught a couple of fish, nothing great. And then we were fishing this sunken barge or sunken something in about 20 foot of water, super tangly. It was a mess, lost a whole bunch of stuff down there.
Yeah.
But I had one time where I was hung up and I didn't want to move too close to it because we'd be right on top of it. So I'm just shaking, trying to pull it off, literally trying to break my line. And I gave it a big yank after about 30 seconds, and then it just yanked right back. So as the weight was stuck in whatever was down there, obviously the worm's just shaking as I'm trying to yank on it. And I caught a 4-pound smallmouth doing that. So I told my guy, I've been fishing tournaments for 35 years, never had that happen. Crazy, super lucky, whatever you want to call it. So about 30 minutes later, I get hung up again. Same thing, start shaking, and it pulls back, and I set the hook. Like, you're not going to believe this. I did it again. And it was one that was just under 4. It was about 3 3/4. So now I'm like wanting to get hung up and just shake.
Oh, yeah.
That was obviously the pattern. But those two fish were key fish for me to kind of turn the tables. I weighed in, I think, another 16 and a half pounds that day. It jumped me into 11th place. So as we're going through the third day setup, you got to go to the meeting with Mark McQuah, and they talk about the next day. I looked on the app, and it said there was a tie for 11th place. And I didn't know what the tiebreaker was. So it was either going to be, fishing with a guy that I knew that was deep scoping, and his co-anglers really didn't have, first 2 good days, but he was really killing it. Or my buddy, Stephen Draghi, was the other guy that I was tied with. And luck of the draw, he won the tiebreaker that put him in 11th place to pair him with me. And we had a great time. We've known each other for a long time. He came up through the co-angling ranks, and he's been doing a great job up north, down south. So he's having a great year. And he handed me, we get in the water the first day, or the third day, first thing in the morning, and he told me the baits that we were going to be using, something that's discontinued, never seen it before. And he's like, I only got a couple of packs, but I'll share them with you. And this is what I've been catching them on. So we get to a spot that was actually the winning spot for Kyle that won that tournament. And he was on one side of the point. We were on the other side of the point. And I wish I was kidding when I said this, and anybody that saw the footage and the pictures and the interviews of Kyle after that tournament that he won, he's saying that he caught 200 fish that day. I'm saying BS. It was probably 300 or more. It was ridiculous. I'd never seen anything like it. And between Steven and I on the other side of that point, we probably caught over 150 between the two of us. And it was just ridiculous. And I think I weighed in 18 pounds, moved up to 5th place. I think Steven had 19 pounds and dropped down.
Wow.
And I think Kyle ended up having 22 or 23. And Kyle's poor co-angler, we were in a spot where we could fan cast on my boat, but the way Kyle was positioned, it made it tough for his co-angler. So he was really working with him to try to get him his fish, but he wasn't getting the quality. He maybe struggled and caught 20 fish, but it was just, it was something to see. It was crazy. It was a current situation. The remnants of that hurricane had blown through, and the water was just screaming, and there was a mud line there, and all the stuff that had just set up right. So now after 2 tournaments, I've made 2 cuts, and I'm like, man, this could be a good year. But
absolutely.
We still got to go to the Thousand Islands, and try to finish the deal there. So 3rd tournament of the year, first day I drew out another one of my buddies, Scott Dobson. He fishes obviously on the tour. If you guys know who he is, he's out of Michigan. Met him years ago when I fished up in the Michigan area for the BFLs in the Michigan division. And we stayed in touch. So he was scoping. He put in 24 pounds. We made the run from Messina all the way to the mouth of the lake, so it didn't leave us much time. And he was, doing everything that he could to try to get me some fish. And it wasn't, it was a good tournament, but from the co-angler side, it didn't really take the weights that I thought. As he was, scoping and I was netting his 6-pounder after 5-pounder.
Been there.
I think he had a 6.9 the first day, which was ridiculous. I'm still fan casting, trying to find something. I found a little seam where I'd made a cast and I'd caught a fish and I lost it. It was about a 3-pounder. So I made a cast back there to the same spot because he was holding that spot lock. And I caught one, caught another one, caught a third one, caught a fourth one, all in that same little cast. And they had just kind of either made their way in there or, who knows what, but they were in there. But I could never get my fifth fish. So again, I'm coming in with 4 fish for the day, having lost one. But the weights weren't great. I think I had 12, 13 pounds, and I was, still in striking distance if I had a good day. And then the second day, I drew at a guy who was dragging, which again, for a co-angler is great, because if you're dragging in that current and if you're paying attention, you're able to position your stuff, kind of before the boater stuff gets to it, because they have to point the boat forward and you're going backwards. So you're actually at an advantage getting to the fish first if you're in the back of the boat dragging.
Yep.
So that was a good day. I think, I don't know, 16 pounds, 15 pounds, whatever. So I was able to, I didn't make the cut. I was really hoping for 3 cuts in a row, but I did get a check. So I did get 3 checks in a row. Plus, I think I got 2 side pot checks out of that from the side pot fishing. If you guys are familiar with side pot fishing, I do see that. So that last tournament, I think my check for finishing, what place was it? I was in 40th or 35th or whatever the last one they paid. I don't remember. It wasn't
40th.
Yeah. I know it wasn't a full field, but my check for finishing down there, getting the last check, was, as much as some of the guys that were, getting, other checks. I mean, it's a great deal because you can finish even out of the check range and still make more than like the last check was. So,
been there, done that.
Yeah. So there's cool stuff like that. That's out there. You guys need to kind of check it out. I've been helping them trying to, get that word out, and it keeps growing on the coast side. I think we had one tournament that had like 9 or 10 guys in it, which is pretty cool. So
that is.
So yeah, after the weigh-in that day, and it was a real interesting tournament for me too, because I had come up for the week of practice, and my car broke down, my Suburban broke down, so I missed 2 days of practice trying to get that fixed. So luckily the guys at the Chevy dealer in Messina took care of me, and they were able to get me fixed, but I had to rent a U-Haul. There were no car rentals available anywhere, so I saw that there was a U-Haul place about 30 miles away, so I rented a cargo van from them, so I could get around for 2 days. So you got to be creative when you're on the road doing that stuff. But yeah, after that second day, I'm kind of looking at the standings, I'm doing the math, and I'm driving home because I know I didn't make the third day, but then people are starting to call me and text me saying, I think you got it. I think you got it. Ended up 1 ounce and 1 point at the end of the year was the difference between Angler of the Year and second place. And I'm sure the guy that finished second, he was having a great year. He didn't have a bad third tournament, but I was 5 or 6 points behind him. So I needed to beat him by 7 points, and I beat him by exactly 7 points. And if he would have had 1 more ounce, the weights were so tight that he would have actually moved up 2 spaces, and then he would have beat me. So it's crazy what a couple of drops of water in your weighing bag can do over 2 days. Or I don't know if he had any dead fish. I know I had 1 dead fish that cost me 4 ounces in the 2 days. So again, so much stuff had to work. But again, we worked hard. We put fish in the boat every tournament. Wish we had limits every day, but close enough. We did what we had to do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry it took so long.
Yeah. Talking about side pot, I think I was 14th on the BFL here at Cumberland, and the side pot paid me more than the BFL did at 14th.
Yeah.
And then the regional at I think Eufaula, I was 77th, and one of my buddies called me and said, "Hey, congrats!" I'm like, "On what?" I finished 77th. You won the side pot. So that helped me get through Atlanta. That made me smile through Atlanta.
Oh yeah, I'm not complaining when Luke called me and told me after the Santee Cooper tournament, because I fished the South too, and the Santee Cooper was just a couple weeks ago. I think I only had 3 fish for like 6 pounds or something the whole 2 days. It was super, super tough.
Yeah.
And I got a side pot check there too. So
some days your day.
Yep. Not complaining.
So exactly. That's 3 side pots this year?
Was it 3? I don't know. 2 or 3, maybe. Not
Yeah, I
sure.
think you got 2 in the Toyotas and 1 there, right?
Sure, I'll take him. Whatever he's going to give me. I just
yeah.
signed up for all of them. Yeah, I fish so many of these things; it's hard to keep track. But
Oh yeah.
So Robbie passed you this year.
That's all right. Hey, hats off. he
more.
deserved it. He earned it.
Yeah, still got 1 more to go. We've got Wheeler in November, so I'm signed up for that, and we'll give it a shot to get another one. So that's the big one, though. That's the championship, qualifying for the championship. My goal this year was to fish the 2 divisions. I had an opportunity on my schedule to do that, so I fished Okeechobee and the Harris Chain early in the year, and then Santee Cooper late in the year to finish out that whole segment. And the goal was to double qualify, and we did that, so that was pretty cool. I finished 23rd, I think, in the Southern Division. So whoever finished 26th, I guess they'll bump me out and move that person up into the championship.
Yep.
So they owe me a steak dinner.
Absolutely, man.
Hey,
Absolutely.
Will you take beef jerky?
Sure. Well, it was a really good year. It was a solid year. Fishing completely different waters, fishing the shallow Florida fisheries, the weeds. Fishing Santee Cooper with all the cypress trees, Harris Chain, et cetera. Then coming up and fishing all the north stuff. I mean, you just got to be so well rounded, and be able to be comfortable, pretty much throwing whatever you can, whenever you can. It's out of the back of the boat. You just have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, you could be shallow, like a foot deep one day, and then 140 foot the next day. I've had it happen, so you never know.
And you better be comfortable with every scenario there and in between.
All right.
Yep.
Let's get to a couple of these comments real quick, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Welcome, Barking Rugers, and thank you very much for filling in last night. Appreciated it.
Yep. Yeah, I had to come back. He's going to take my job, man.
This is referring to the Potomac. 6 hours and no bites. Keep that up, and you'll qualify to fish with him.
or fish a Ned rig with him.
No.
And Jim Miller says, "Congratulations, Mike Mueller from Who's Your Bait Company."
Thank you, Jim. Jim is one of my new sponsors we picked up this year. Soft Plastics, making some great stuff. I actually was with a company for 10 years called Snack Daddy. And they were kind of Midwest regional based out of Michigan, really focused on Great Lakes stuff. And so I really love their stuff for smallmouth. And they had some stuff going on in their lives, and they had to kind of give up the business. Still really close with all of them up there, but Jim has kind of taken the reins from them and learned the bait farming business and all their secrets from them. So he's kind of taken the charge to carry that same high-end product with just under a different name. So really excited to be with them.
Nice.
Outstanding.
Congratulations again.
Yeah.
All right. So if you don't mind, let's talk about each tournament a little differently.
Sure.
Potomac. What were the key techniques or baits or methods you used to get you up into that cup?
Sure. So really it had to be versatile that tournament because we were fishing a few different areas. We were fishing that marina, which had a ton of traffic in it. It's a release spot. They hold a bunch of local tournaments out of there. And the fish will hold in there in the middle before they make their way out to the jetty, before they make their way out back. So there was a lot of fish in there, and they were heavily pressured. And again, just downsizing around the jetties. Used a really small jig to catch a couple of fish in a Senko, and then only one of those was a keeper. But then really, for me, it was just paying attention because I had my back turned to the bank. So I'm fishing facing out, fishing the jetty, which is fine because that's where the boat was. But I'm always looking around and trying to observe what's going on. And just out of the corner of my eye, seeing that other boat that was on the other jetty where the boater was fishing the rocks and the co-angler was just fan casting out in the middle. And then it was just a simple question. Hey, what's out there? I haven't been in here before. I asked my boater. He's like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of weeds out there. So if I hadn't, been observant and saw what that other co-angler was doing, I never would have turned around and thrown my chatterbait out of the back of the boat, and I wouldn't have caught that, 4 pounder plus and the other 3.5 pounder. So that's important too. Out of the back of the boat, always observing what's going on, what's happening around you, what the boater's doing, what the boater's not doing, etc. But as much as that helped me there, when we moved to the second spot, everybody around me was back, I was trying to do exactly what they're doing, and I couldn't catch a fish. It didn't help me there.
We all have them.
Yeah, we were some shallow weed clumps, and dragon senkos and swim worms. And again, just trying everything, seeing all the fish getting caught around me. Mentally that's challenging sometimes because the fish are there, they're biting, but it just wasn't meant for me during that window. But I got to see what the other guys were doing and, make some mental notes, that maybe could have helped me the second day. Sure. Which it ended up doing because then the second day, I downsized my Carolina rig. A lot of guys were throwing some moving baits, so I did that. So I just kept mixing between that and my swim worm, and that's where I ended up catching a bunch of my fish.
Okay. Jonathan Kerr says, "Let's go, champ."
Jonathan, what's up? Wife calling me home guide service out of here on the Susquehanna River.
Yeah. And he says, "Thank you for representing him."
Absolutely. We still have a couple of trips left, Jonathan, this year. The river is just starting to get hot here. We're having some issues with one of the local pools here because of they're doing some work on the dam, so it's super low. And unless you have a jet boat, and even if you have a jet boat, you're going to be bouncing around the rocks. So,
wow.
I kind of have to stay off the water there. But once that comes back up this fall and the water drops to about 55 degrees, it gets really good out there. I was out there all day yesterday in a different pool and caught about 15 fish that weighed about 8 pounds total.
That's the Ohio River scenario.
Yeah, it was.
No, that's 8 and 10 inches at the Ohio River now.
Yeah, so Jonathan does a great job. We actually had a trip earlier this year just for fun. He didn't have a client, so he called me up and we decided to go fishing. And I wasn't even going to go because the water was super high, moving really fast. I'm like, we're never going to catch anything. Ended up having the best day. We put a 21 plus pound bag up out of the river here, which is unheard of. And I ended up catching a 6'9" largemouth, which I think Jonathan has been fishing that river for years, and he's never even caught a 5-pounder out of there. And 5-pounders are like unicorns out there. So to catch a 6'9" was basically impossible. I still can't believe I did it there, but hey, they swim out there.
Rusty Odom says the master, Mike Mueller. Congratulations.
Well, I know Rusty is the master of winning side pots.
Oh, absolutely, man. He's a stick.
I want to be like him someday. So
Jonathan says he has had a 5.
Oh, you still have? Well, maybe I'll get you one this fall.
No.
There you go.
You mentioned unicorns down there, the 5-pounders. Now, I remember years ago fishing up in the St. Lawrence. A 5-pound smallie was a unicorn.
And that was years ago. Because if you remember, I'm old, but going back to the early 90s when those guys were fishing up there, you're catching 14 to 16 pounds of largemouth.
Yes.
And, that fishery, like so many in the Northeast, have just evolved so much with, quite frankly, the goby. And I know they're invasive, but thank God for gobies.
Oh, yeah. they making footballs grow up there.
Yes. And the unicorn up here is a 2-pounder. They're gone now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think when they spawn, after the first 3 months, they're 2.5 pounds already as soon as they're born. They get their first taste of those gobies, and they're just so full of protein and everything else. It's just ridiculous. Just the shape of those fish. Anybody that's fished up there, even seen pictures online of those fish, they're just freaks. And to see, I don't know if you guys saw this past weekend, I think there's a Canadian tournament, 29 pounds and 32 plus for the 2-day tournament. I mean, these guys are weighing 60-pound bags up there for 10 fish.
That was the same weekend as Dante caught his 9-pounder.
Yeah. Yep. Did they recognize that yet? Did New York get smart and recertify his scale? And
I'm not sure where it's at. I know they're trying to certify the New York State scales, make sure they're accurate.
Yeah.
So,
Well, hopefully he gets it because I know your neck of the woods, the record was caught last year, but they didn't, they let it go. That same guy that caught it, the state record
the year
2 years
before.
ago. Yeah. Back to back. Oh, I'll just catch another state record. Why not?
Yeah, nothing else to do.
And then you guys got that 12-2 largemouth out of your pond this year?
Yep.
Yeah, they don't like that place.
And the fishing is terrible up here, though. I think
it.
I think BASS needs and MLF need to start hitting the Ohio River a little more.
Well, I got to experience the Ohio River for about 3 years when I lived in the Cincinnati area, and God bless those guys. I mean, they're drawing 120 boats to catch 6 pounds.
Tanner's Creek is insane, man. Tanner's Creek is tough.
I think Dick Schaefer just won again with 16 pounds over 2 days. I mean, he's won I read 17 events now. Most of them down there. I'll never forget my first tournament in Tanner's Creek. It was tough. I only had 3 bites, but I caught a 2.5 pounder. And to me, that's no big deal. I just set the hook, I flip it in, and my boater's like, "Oh my God, what are you doing? That's a giant. Why didn't you wait for the net?" It's 2.5 pounder. It's yeah, that might win you big bass.
You ain't kidding.
No, they weren't. I mean, when you're fishing for 6 pounds, and you catch a 2.5, that's pretty solid. But that was the only fish. I think it was 211. I think it was the only fish.
Wow. That's a nice one. Yeah, I think I caught one fish right past Tanner's Creek where the launch is on a buzzbait, and it was 2-something, and I almost pulled a check on one fish.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why those guys keep exposing themselves to that cruel and unusual punishment of the Ohio River, but they love it.
Oh yeah. Well, what kills me is the old guys. You'll see them on the lay down, and you go out in the morning, come back in the afternoon, they're on the same lay down, throwing a jig. They've been there all day. They've been there all day.
Just waiting.
The fish will show up sooner or later.
Yeah.
Jonathan's saying that 6'9" was insane.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it was a freak. I mean, again, in a place where 4s are huge and 5s are almost unheard of, to catch a 6'9", I've only lived here 3 years, and I've done a lot of research, and I'm sure there's been bigger fish out of there, but I haven't been able to find one. And then some guy, Joe Raymond, he's a guide up here, fishes a little bit north of here. He just weighed in a 7.08 in a tournament last week, smallmouth.
So, brought from up here.
Yeah.
Well, all right, let's go to Champlain, because that was a lucky tournament for you.
Yeah,
I say lucky, getting up and getting the fish. And
yeah, that was like I said earlier, that was the turning point, because going into that tournament, I knew I had a decent start to the year. And then again, out of the back of the boat, you've always, especially on that lake, got to be faced with forward-facing sonar.
Yep.
And now most of the guys that are doing that, they're going up to the inland sea. They're up over 90 foot of water, chasing the fish that are on the bait balls, which is fine because I've caught fish behind some guys that are some of the best at doing that. I know how to do that. It's just very hard to come by. And I know my buddy Joe Marsh, he was behind a guy doing that, and he ended up catching 4 fish that second day. So he had a really good day behind a scoper. So guys that are out there that are complaining about it, yes, it's hard. Fishing's supposed to be hard, but it's not impossible. You can still catch fish doing that. It's not fun. It's not easy. But again, a lot of satisfaction when you come in with a good bag behind a guy that's doing that. Or you can just throw your hands up and, sit in the chair and pout all day.
Got to keep your lure wet, man. Catch them.
Yeah, I've been close to that a couple of times because there's some days where I get behind those guys and I can't do anything right, and they just keep whacking them. So, I understand it, but it's not impossible. But both of my guys were forward-facing sonar, but again, under 20 foot. My day one guy was 8 to 12 foot, and just picking off fish with his drop shot, dropping on them. But again, they're there, which is a great confidence booster. And I just had a little Zoom crawl, a little speed crawl on my Carolina rig, and just following up behind him, and still was cleaning up pretty good. You can catch 16.5 pounds out there. That's not bad.
No, not bad at all.
And then the second day was fun. What was interesting about those 2 days was how my boater was fishing, because on day 2, I drew out a guy named Mark Schlarb. He works for USA Bass. He was actually just down with the U.S. national team. I don't know if he went this year, but I know he helps organize it and helps run that competition. And the United States won again, which is great. I don't know if we've lost yet, but we'll keep going. I told Mark he needed to send me an invite this year, but I never got it. But that's okay.
Maybe next year.
Maybe
there you
go. But I was fishing with him. Great guy. I fished with him before, and we had found that deep spot where I caught those 2 4s, or the 4 and the 3.5. But then we pulled a little bit shallow on this rock ledge, and I was throwing my Carolina rig off the deeper end, and I caught another good one that was close to 4. And then he was throwing in the same ledge but didn't get anything. And then he decided to throw up way shallow, and he just made his first cast. I don't know if he saw a weed clump or something up there. He just fired one cast super shallow and caught like a 6'6" largemouth.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, you know what? Great for him. I never would have thrown up there, so I'm not complaining. His fish all the way. I still had a good bag, but again, just making that one cast, you always got to pay attention. You got to keep your eyes open, keep looking, see what's out there. And I'm sure he saw something, either some movement or a dark spot or something, and he threw at it and caught that big largemouth. But then the third day when I was with Steven, we had caught all those fish, and we decided to give a little bit of a rest, and we went I don't know, about a mile away to a similar area. It was in the same part of the lake, just maybe a quarter mile down the bank, and he ended up catching one almost 6 largemouth blowing up shallow as well. So I think the 2 guys that got big bass, I netted both of them that tournament. So
it's good to be a good net man.
Yeah, it was good. But again, that second day, the first day, like I talked about, just kind of downsizing with the Carolina rig, and the second day was really just the drop shot played the bigger key on that deeper stuff, that 20-foot stuff. And again, that was just, yes, there's some skill involved, but I'm not going to lie, those 2 fish were just dumb luck. Those two good ones that I have, when I was shaking that drop shot trying to get it loose. But you know what? When you have a long year and you have so many days on the water, you got to get lucky every once in a while.
Exactly.
So, and then we get to that third day. Steven told me what he was catching his fish on. He shared it with me. Great dude. I get back from the tournament. I found him online. I bought about 20 bags. They're all discontinued. They're ridiculously overpriced.
Oh yeah.
But bought them all anyway because I knew I was going to use them with a similar technique at Thousand Islands. But he shared everything in his boat with me. We just had such a great time. And like I said, it's great when you get to fish with your friends and you just get drawn out with them, because just know you're going to have a good day even if you don't catch any. And we were lucky enough to be in a spot that a few guys were in it. I mean, there was, I'm not going to lie, when we first started, probably 8 boats were up in that general area, that quarter-mile stretch. But Steven had fished there for all 3 days, and he kind of had it dialed in as to what parts of the area were more productive. And he knew that Kyle was on the best spot, but Kyle had a chance to win. And so obviously you don't want to move in on that. So we found that secondary spot and camped out on it pretty much, I'd say 6 of the 8 hours of the day. And the best part, it wasn't the best part because I was starting to get spun out again. Probably about the first 30 minutes, I never got bit. I had to change up my configuration a little bit, change up my weight a little bit before I finally figured out, how to get them to react to what we were throwing. But again, it's one of those scenarios where everybody around me was catching them. And there were just so many in there. I mean, 5,000 fish. Who knows? They were just everywhere. It was all current thing. It was one of those once in a lifetime things that we just happened to be there at the right time with the right current and the right mud line and the right tournament days.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nice. And then you get to go to Rock Holiday says, "What's up, fellas?"
Hey.
And Aaron Wilkie, congrats again on AOI. Couldn't happen to a better man and friend.
So the only thing about Aaron is that now that he's back up in the saddle, he's going to be out there trying to take it from me next year. So that's the only reason why I won, because he wasn't out there.
Oh, he's hungry. He's hungry right now.
And you can't fish for the whole year, and you just have to watch. But it was good. There, he was at the Champlain tournament.
Oh, good.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so we got to see him and chat for a while, so it was great to see him out and about. So I know he's doing better.
Yeah. David Archibald says, "Look what the cat dragged in." and
yeah, I got to see him down at Santee Coop, where we were just talking about how great of a tournament that was, David. I mean, we both just killed him.
Aaron's extremely hungry.
I knew you was, buddy. I know you're gonna be out there, man. I know you got the cabin fever, man, for sure. We've been there.
Yep. So
yeah, I was fishing. I think it was last year. One of the ABA tournaments. I fished ABA on the boater side, and I drew out Aaron. I think it was in the second tournament up at the St. Lawrence, and
yes, it was.
Put him on the winning bag and got him his first win of his career, which was great. And I tried to calm his nerves because he knew he had a good bag, but he's like, "Man, I think I got 11, 12 pounds." I'm like, "Man, you got 14 at least." It's like, "No, I don't. I don't have that much." I'm like, "You're fine. Don't worry about it. Just keep fishing. You're going to be fine." And he ended up having a really good bag that day.
You created a monster, man. You created a monster.
Good.
now he's King Kong. He shows up at tournaments. He's King Kong now.
Love it.
Yeah, that happened to me. Like I was fishing with Casey Smith on Lake Erie, and he's like, "You got about 20 pounds." I'm like, "No, I got about 16, 17, I think." He goes, "No, John, you got 20.
You're
I ended
good.
up weighing like 21 something.
Yeah.
It was the first time I weighed a bag over 20 pounds in a tournament.
Yeah, and I know you look at him and you always think you're big eyeing him, and you're like, "No, I don't have that much. I'm not going to get my hopes up." But
Especially with smallmouth.
Yeah, that's hard to judge.
But that's
yeah.
okay.
But again, the first day at Thousand Islands, again making that long run, because you're looking at, what is that, a 90-mile run, 80-mile run. Yep. Never any fun. I've done that a couple of times, and it's never worked out. So I was hesitant, but I know Scott. I trust him. He knows what he's doing. Obviously, Scott Dobson, and he was on. He was fishing the community hole, and it was just packed up there. So we actually moved off and found some other fish that were close to that, part of this kind of the same type of area, but not right on the top of it, because the Bassmasters were there the week before. Yep. Or just 2 days before or whatever. And they had really wore that spot out. Robert G and the Johnson brothers had a little fun with each other out on that spot.
Pretty much.
And again, it's funny because I had found that spot, I don't know, 3 years ago or so, but I never knew it was a community hole. I just go out fishing. I'm like, this is a place they should be. And I fish it every once in a while. And I never knew it was this big nationally controversial area. But so we started out there, and it was just way too busy. So we moved off, and Scott was picking off the fish that he was seeing. And again, for me, out of the back of the boat, it was great to see him do well. It's always cool to see a 24-something pound bag, but it's more fun when it's yours.
Yep.
But still, great for him. And you just got to keep throwing. I mean, out of the back of the boat, it's one of those things I said before. They're out there. I did a lot of stuff trying to fan cast with the same moving type baits. You can't see them, but they're out there. You know generally what part of the water column they're in. But I really didn't start catching them until I got on the bottom, and I was dragging the rig around and using that same Japanese discontinued bait that Steven exposed me to that cost me a whole bunch of money, but it was worth it because they were eating it. It's something they hadn't seen, something pretty different. So again, I already thanked him a couple of times for that after I won Angler of the Year, because if it wasn't for that, who knows? I still might have caught him on something else, but it was definitely working. But again, just staying patient. You only got 4 hours to fish. You see your guy whacking them. Don't let it get in your head. Just keep the bait wet. Keep trying different things. And for me, the big change that first day was putting the swim baits and the spy baits and the all that stuff down and just grinding the bottom. And that's what got me those 5 fish, one of which I lost, but the only bites I had all day, and it was a great start to the first day.
Absolutely, but you kept on grinding, man. Kept on trying, kept on grinding, and you put the puzzle together. So, absolutely.
My favorite part of that trip, though, was in practice. John Trask, he's from North Carolina. When I used to fish up in Maine, when I lived up in Boston, I met him, became friends with him, and we spent the week together up there fishing. And I caught I'm going to say it was a 6-pounder in practice. It kept bouncing between 5.15 and 6, so we'll just say it was a 6. It was probably like 5.98. But that was great to catch that in practice. Caught some decent fish in practice. But the reason why I mentioned that is because the second day, I drew out a guy that was fishing very close to that same area. Same stretch, but maybe a quarter mile away. So I knew that there was some quality fish there. And we didn't catch a ton of them. But, he was a local guy. He lived in Messina, which, again, when you're a co-angler on the last tournament day of the year and you get your boat partner and you call him and he's like, "Yeah, I'm from like 5 minutes away. I kind of know the plot. I know the place." They kind of let you sleep good at night. No guarantees, but you're probably going to be close to something. Then it's just up to you to seal the deal. So we fished a couple of spots that really had some decent fish on them. I think he had 19 pounds. I had, whatever I had, I don't remember. But that day was all dragon. I wasn't doing anything else. And like I said, I was familiar with that stretch because we had fished it a bunch in practice too. So I kind of knew what I needed to do, how I wanted to do it. And it amazes me too up there how much the current plays a role in the fishing. You wouldn't think that dragging, at 1.8 miles per hour, you'd ever get a fish. But they just tuck back in those rocks, and when they see something darting by, they just come out and grab it. And it's not like they're living and swimming in that. They're in the slack currents, they're in the eddies, they're behind the rocks, they're in areas where they're tucked out of the current, just waiting for the current to bring something by. That's why dragging up there for a co-angler is so critical, because you get the first shot at them as long as you're not making a mile-long cast. If you're smart about it and you keep your presentation shorter than the boater, you're going to get to the fish first.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, congratulations on a great year.
Thank you. It was good. I felt very happy with that.
Free rig style. Devon wants to know about free rig style.
Devon, no comment.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I will neither confirm nor deny that technique.
We'll talk about that on a different show.
There you go.
Absolutely.
I think I still have one tied on. I do. My rods are overhead, so. But let's give you a chance. I mean, your favorite homemade cookie. We probably heard it before.
Yeah, we got the
lucky cookies.
Every time I go up there, we have to have a couple of the chocolate chip cookies. Some of the lucky stuff that obviously worked this year. So
you had one first tournament all the way to the last, right?
That's right. At least in my memory.
Well, next year that might happen, because I'm going to be fishing the Toyotas next year.
Oh, great!
Cool.
Good for you. Yeah, we'll be out there doing the same thing, I'm sure. We'll take a look at the schedule and the work and see what it's going to allow. But I definitely want to make sure I can be up there to hopefully get back to back.
Defend it.
All right.
Devon says we all was doing it.
I don't know if we were all doing it. Some of us were doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that a co-angler has to learn.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's definitely a technique that was kept secret for a while, and I know a lot of the guys, up there try to keep it hush, but it works. It's a different presentation. You got your guys that throw the ball and chain, and you got your guys that do the free rig, and I did a little bit of both this year, and the free rig worked. I mean, we wouldn't all be doing it out of the back of the boat if it didn't work.
Oh, absolutely.
So now, Michael Catt, my boy. Hell yes, you are. James Willie says, "What's up, fellas? Sorry I'm late, studying up for the Watts Bar." So,
hey, James, I'll probably see you there, man. So don't study too hard. Save me some.
let's go over some of your sponsors. I know we talked a little bit about them earlier, but go ahead and
Yeah,
take the time.
absolutely. There's a lot of companies that support me. I'll try to touch on all of them a little bit, but with me, I've got so many long-standing relationships with companies, and it's really important to me. I don't just grab onto something. It needs to be a personal decision, as well as a business decision. I've had plenty of companies that try to throw stuff at me, and it's not, it's not the right fit, or it's something that I really can't support, and I'm just not going to chase that. Razor Rods is a company I've been with probably 15 years now. They recently changed hands. The original guy retired, which is great. My mentor in the business, Rick LaPointe, taught me so much about getting off the bank. When I first moved south to southern Missouri area, and started fishing, the Table Rocks and Bull Shoals and Beaver Lake and all that kind of stuff. I was clueless because all I did was, beat the bank up north power fishing. So, he took me under his wing and taught me all that stuff. And then when he was starting his rod company, he asked me to jump on board, and I've been with them for a long time. Luz is another great relationship. I think I'm on my 11th year with them right now. I keep being amazed at the technology that they come out with. I really love the new Shallow Spool series they got this year. Really helps with the control. It helps with, the backlashing, or not having the backlash, not having so much line on it. And quite frankly, it helps with, financially not having to spend so much money on line, because it's a shallow spool concept. And I was just fishing yesterday, and I picked up one of my new shallow spool bait casters to throw a spinnerbait. And I looked at the spool, and I'm like, I got to put more line on this. There's no way. And sure enough, I made this cast as long as I could, and there's still 20 yards on the line. So, it looked like it was completely empty, but again, that's going to be a great thing. I'm really looking forward. They've got the new shallow spool out. I ordered one for my order this year. So I'll probably have a lot of those on my spinning reels next year, all the shallow spool, and then the Custom Pro shallow spools, along with the Hyper Mags. I use those a lot too. So those are some great reels and some great rods. I talked fishing line, Seagar. I've been with them for about 5 or 6 years. I really love their fluoro. I don't use anything but fluoro anymore. I know there's areas where you want to use mono. I just, top water fishing, maybe I'll throw a little bit of mono. I'm just using really their braid and their fluorocarbon. It's been flawless to me. They invented the technology, 50, 60 plus years ago. So I have no reason to go outside of that. They've been good to me. It works. Never had any issues, and they're the ones that invented it. So I would think that they know a little bit about it. Another company, I've got Jewel Baits. I've been with them forever. Eco Pro Tungsten, Lee Rogers up here in the Northeast out of New Jersey. I've been with that company for several years. G2 Gemini, met with Mike Schnupp. Met him at a tournament about 12 years ago, and we got to talking, and he offered me, a position there. They, if you guys don't know, G2 makes all the jerseys for, the MLF stuff. If you're watching those shows, you see the logo on the back. They provide so many jerseys to the top pros. So I'm lucky enough to be on with them. They provide me my stuff. Just got on board this year. Somebody turned me on to a hook company, Hayabusa Fishing.
They're not a bad hook.
Not a bad hook. Yeah, they do all right. You might have a couple of them down there, John.
Just a
yeah,
couple.
I met with them, and again, it's one of those same things where I was exposed to them, but I'd never used them before, and they reached out to me. I'm like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable being able to represent them, not having used them before. So I said, let me get my hands on. If you let me get some, let me buy some. And I used them at the first tournament at Okeechobee, and I loved them. So I reached back out to them, and was able to work with them. Who else do we got? We've got Rapid Fishing Solutions. Rapid Fishing. I don't know if you guys know about this. They have so many cool tools to use. Two of my favorites are the hook all, which is basically the little plastic disc that allows you to pin your soft plastics, keep trailers on jigs, put them for trailer hooks on spinnerbaits and buzzbaits. You can even do them for wacky, instead of putting a O-ring around a wacky worm, you can just hook it through and have a plastic disc on each side. These things are tiny; they don't get in the way at all. They really secure everything and hold stuff in place. I put them on my punching rigs to hold my punching stuff in place. I mean, it saves your lures. You're not tearing them up nearly as much. They're not sliding up and down the hook, getting all beat up after one or two fish. So love using those. And then they have the line guide, which for us old guys is probably my favorite tool. Trying to thread the line through the eyes. 30, 40 years ago, I used to make fun of guys my age because they couldn't do it. And now I can either scrounge around for my glasses or just, yeah, me too, use the line guide, which really is just a threading tool to really quickly allow you to thread your stuff through your guides. And again, we talked about Hoosier Bait Company, Soft Classics. We talked about Jonathan's company, his guide service. If you guys are ever on the Susquehanna, give him a call. He puts so many people on fish. And he does a lot with veterans. He does a lot with kids. He's really good about getting kids out there fishing and getting them the time of their life. I saw a post of him the other day. There was a young lady. I don't even know how old she was, maybe 10, 12 years old. Caught, I think it was a 4.3 largemouth.
Wow.
So yeah, he just puts a lot of smiles on people's faces out there. So it's a great river system we got here, and he's one of the great guys out here guiding. So,
awesome.
Yeah, I think we got everybody. I do want to mention one thing, and again, I'll move off a little bit because this isn't sponsors, but it is a tool that I got exposed to this year in the Champlain tournament, and I'd never used it before, and so I got some of it, and I really liked it, and it actually, I think, helped me, and that's the bait fuel. I know they're not a sponsor of mine. The guy that I was fishing with used it religiously. I think he's really into it because he had his whole boat wrap was bait fuel. A guy named Jason Gramata. So he let me use it. He kind of talked to me about it, and so I bought some, got some, and I started using it the last few tournaments. And specifically at Santee Cooper, because it was such a tough bite, they've got an injection tool where I was throwing my Wacky Rig Senko, and I was just injecting it into both ends and just pumping each end full of the bait fuel. So as you're pulling it, it's kind of dispersing out. And you know what? I wasn't getting a ton of bites, and then I started doing that, and I caught a couple of fish, and I'm like, you know what? I just had it locked in my hands for the next 2 days. So there's stuff out there like that you can use and that people can get. I mean, you don't have to be sponsored by these people. But, there's a ton of good stuff out there that you can use and you can get. And to me, I think that helped me put some fish in the boat and helped me qualify, double qualify actually, for the championship out of the Southern Division.
Nice.
All right.
Now, folks at home that they see side pot, can you kind of go through side pot? I know you're better at it than me explaining it, but man, if you're not in it, you're missing out.
Yeah, guys, it's such a cheap and easy and really fun way. I mean, you're already spending all this money for your travel, for your entry fees, for whatever, and for $100 on the co-angler side to get a chance. I think my one of my bigger checks this year was like 600 something bucks. I don't know what it was. But Luke, had this great idea, Luke Schrader, to have something to give it back. And there's the thing I love about it is there's a lot of things out there, but it's all contingency stuff. If you own this, you can get this. If you buy this, you can do this. If you buy this subscription for a year, then you're eligible for whatever. This is no anything. There's no strings attached. It's just $100. He pays out 95%. I think he keeps $5 off every entry, to pay for his postage and his all the stuff that he needs to do to get the payments out to the people. So he's not here making money. This is truly for the anglers, and gives us an extra way to win money. And it could be as little as 2 people in the pot, 3 people in the pot, and you'll still get a decent chunk. I think one of the ones that I won had 6 or 7 people in it, on the co-angler side. And again, it adds up. And Rob, to your point, you can finish out of the money on a BFL, for example, and still win more than the last place BFL check.
Absolutely.
I had one, like I mentioned this year. I think it was equal to the last place, whatever the last place check would have been. All you have to do is finish ahead of only the side pot competitors. So, if there's 10 guys in the side pot and you finish 40th and they all finish behind you, you win the side pot. And you don't have to win the tournament. Easiest money you're going to make. It really adds a little bit of a wrinkle and excitement to it because you're never out of it. I mean, you can have a bad day on the water and then you get the standings, when Luke posted after day 1 and you say, oh crap, I sucked today in the tournament, but I'm leading the side pot by 5 pounds. And then, it gives you that incentive. It keeps you focused for the next day because that you're really not out of it with the side pot.
Right. Absolutely. And no membership fee. And another thing, like you was talking about contingencies, a lot of them you got to wait to the end of the season or end of the month. Right after the tournament, Luke's put a check in the mail. You'll have it that week.
Yep. Monday, Tuesday, he's mailing them out. And, before Friday, before you leave for your next tournament, you'll probably have it in your hand and in the bank.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another
thing
about the
go ahead.
Another thing about the side pot is the more people who enter, the more people who get money back.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
not just one spot. If I can't remember how many it is. I think it's after 8, they pay back a second spot or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, they pay several spots depending on the amount of entrants.
Yep, absolutely. I think we had one tournament this year that I was at where it paid 3 spots.
Wow.
Again, still relatively new. But you're at least getting, for the most part, 2 spots paid. And if you're in a 100 boat field, and 2 spots are getting paid, you're not only fishing for the field money, but then you're fishing for that money too.
Yes.
And your odds, your odds are pretty good to, just beat a couple other people.
Yep.
Like Norris this year, first tournament of the year in volunteer, I only had 1 fish. I got big bass and side pot. So that was a good day.
Yeah, took home the money. And again, there's no restrictions. You can sign up for 1. You can sign up for all. You don't have to do all 3 in a series. If you just feeling lucky on your home lake and you know that you're going to whack them, just sign up for that 1 tournament and win the side pot money and then get out or hopefully stay in and do it for the next one.
Absolutely.
Says he's got to get in the side pots to win money worth talking about in the BFLs.
Now, you took a lot of money home. Hats off to him this year.
Yeah. Aaron Wilkie says it's worth it. I've won it once so far. Man, going into this year, Rob, you won. Mike didn't. I didn't. Now I'm the odd man out.
Yep.
I'm not feeling good about this scenario.
Well, you'll have to try to take our money again next year.
And somebody's reminded you a couple of times. I won't mention any names.
Yeah.
Well,
and you've reminded me a couple times, so there you go.
And one of the cool things too is, kind of it's not like a little secret society, but the guys out there know who's fishing side pot and who's not.
Oh yeah.
I put a post out before one of the tournaments because I had won, and then I put a post out, I had a tag side pot on it, and I said, hey, if anybody wants to win your money back, you better put your money in, so I'm going to go take it again. And then, at the tournament, one of the kids came up to me that was in it. He's like, and he ended up winning it. And he said, I saw your post and I wanted to take my money back.
Yeah, it's funny because, like I said, when I was coming back from Eufaula, Rusty Odom called me. And he said, hey, man, congrats. I'm like, what for? So yeah, these guys keep up with it pretty good. They're pretty sharp. So, and it's all good fun, and it's a lot of fun. And what's really good is when Luke's there and he has the big side pot check, and you get the picture with it. That's pretty dang cool.
Yeah, I thought at the Potomac this year, I came really close, and I think there was only enough for just one check in that one. It was the first one of the year.
Yep.
And honestly, after that decent second day I had, I thought I was going to win it. And I go up to him and I'm like, man, are we going to get the picture with the big check? He's like, no, this other dude just came in and beat you by a couple ounces.
Oh, man.
So I was like waiting around to do the big check thing since he was there, and I didn't get it. But
well, you could have just taken it just out of general,
taking it
for next time.
Say, I'll get it next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. Off the Hook Outdoors says, what's going on, guys? Not too much. We're just about to close, so close this segment, and you'll have to check out the replay on our YouTube channel, Co-Anglers Corner.
Yep, and again, awesome year, Mike, man. Congrats. I mean, you've worked hard the last few years, and we know it's coming for you. So congrats on having a great year, and maybe even bigger and better things next year.
I appreciate it. Well, keep an eye out for the Wheeler Lake Championship. I'm due after the last couple of years championships I've been in. I haven't fared too well, so we're gonna come out swinging in a couple of weeks down at Wheeler.
All right.
Yeah, I know some good restaurants down there. So you need a good place to eat, hit me up. I know some good places.
I definitely will.
All right.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Let's see you. Uh-oh. Now there's your comment there.
Thanks for making these two knuckleheads look good. Chuckleheads look good.
Chowderheads? Was it Chowderheads? Chucky? Oh, okay.
I don't know. Hey,
Ruger, I'm not as good looking as you, man. I'll admit it. I mean, is what it is.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, so we're gonna close out tonight. Tomorrow we have Mark Pilgrim coming on. He's a professional angler, fishes the I think it's the BAM Trail out west, out in California, Bass Angler Magazine Trail. A lot of people out there know him. He's well liked, well known, and I just saw the comment. Sorry, guys. Everybody, take care and have a good night.
All right, see you guys. Peace out. Hey, see you, James. I'll see you soon, buddy. Take care.